Hi everybody, welcome back to Clean Eating Kitchen, where I share easy, gluten-free and dairy-free recipes. And today I'm making vegan and gluten-free lemon poppy seed muffins. I've got my yellow sweatshirt on and I've got my lemons here, so we're ready to make these delicious muffins. So the first step of this recipe is to combine our dry ingredients into our mixing bowl. And I am using 2 cups of a gluten-free flour. And I have a favorite gluten-free flour. I will link it below. It is a 1-to-1 gluten-free mix, and for me it has worked really great. I've used it many times and it works just perfectly. So this video is not sponsored, but I will link to that flour blend below. So I have my 2 cups of gluten-free flour, and next we are going to add 3/4 of a cup of coconut sugar. And you can also use white sugar for this recipe, but I like using coconut sugar whenever I bake because it is a little bit lower glycemic, and I'm always trying to look for little shortcuts to make recipes healthier. Next, I have a tablespoon of baking powder, and I'm just gonna pour that in. And I'm just giving the ingredients a little stir while I add them. You could also use a whisk. And then I'm going to add about 1/4 of a teaspoon of sea salt. And I mentioned this in a previous video, but even when we're baking these sweet recipes, it's nice to have a little bit of salt. It helps bring out all of the flavors. And then, of course, we have poppy seeds. And I have 2 tablespoons here. And it was a little bit hard to find poppy seeds, but I found them in the spice section of my grocery store. And you can also order them online. Okay, so I have my dry ingredients mixed together. So I'm just gonna set aside the dry ingredients while I prepare the wet ingredients. Okay, I had to get a little bit of a bigger bowl for my wet ingredients. So now what we're going to do is we're going to combine 1 cup of unsweetened almond milk into our bowl. And as I mentioned, of course, this is a vegan recipe, so we have no dairy, we have no eggs, and you'll see the muffins turn out light and fluffy, and they're just perfect. And shout out to my friends Scott and Janet, who love lemon poppy seed muffins, and Scott can't eat eggs, so Scott, this recipe is for you. So also to the wet ingredients, we're going to add some unsweetened applesauce. And I just have about 1/4 of a cup. And this is one of my favorite little hacks for reducing the need for fat in a recipe. What you can do with most recipes is cut the fat in half and substitute half of the fat with applesauce. And so I have 1/4 of a cup of melted coconut oil that I'm also adding to the mixture here. And again, the coconut oil, we just need 1/4 of a cup because we've offset some of that fat with the applesauce. And I'm just stirring it all together. Now I have 1/3 of a cup of freshly squeezed lemon juice. And of course, that freshly squeezed lemon juice is just gonna add that bright lemony flavor to these muffins. And then I have a teaspoon of vanilla extract. And by the way, I will link to the full printable recipe that is on my website, cleaneatingkitchen.com. I'll link that in the description below. And then the last wet ingredient I have is the zest of 2 lemons. It looks to be about a tablespoon of lemon zest. And the way to make lemon zest is to use a microplane grater. And you grate the outside of the lemon, just the yellow part, and it has so much flavor. You won't believe that actually most of the lemon flavor does come from the juice, but mostly from the zest. And so I have all my wet ingredients now in this bowl. I'm gonna grab my dry ingredients, and then I'm gonna pour the wet ingredients into the dry ingredients. There we go. And then of course I'll just stir it together until it makes the batter. And then I'll pour the batter into the muffin tin. And I have a 12 well muffin tin, and I've lined it with muffin liners. Now you don't have to use liners, but I find that it makes for much easier cleanup. And then it's nice when you're eating the muffins, your fingers don't get sticky. So I have a 1/3 cup here, measuring cup, that I'm going to use to pour the batter into the muffin tin. And the batter itself smells so lemony. So I know that these muffins are going to be so delicious. Okay, so the muffin tin is all nicely filled. We don't have to worry too much about the muffins baking over the tin because since there are no eggs in this recipe, they're not going to rise too much. They'll just be perfect. So now we're going to pop them into a 375-degree oven for about 15 minutes. Okay, everybody, so the muffins took 15 minutes and they turned out perfectly. As you can see, they are golden brown on top and they are still really moist. And I'm going to take a bite and I want to show you the inside too. They have a great texture and it smells so good in the house right now. It just smells like lemons, just pure lemons. And so I'm going to take a bite of the muffin. So the lemon flavor is great, and then you get a little bit of texture from the poppy seeds. I think they'll sweeten up when they're refrigerated, or you can serve them warm, but they're just perfect as is, and I think you're really going to love this recipe. So I will link to my other playlist of some of my other favorite vegan and gluten-free recipes, and I'll see you in the next video.